You may or may not find this hard to believe, but even after yesterday's disastrous public hearing of the failed sham Biden impeachment inquiry, there are some Republicans who simply won't let it go. And one Republican disgraced herself on the Fox propaganda network in an embarrassing attempt to keep the Biden impeachment inquiry hoax alive. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bell before you go. I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, friends, I saw these clips and I couldn't help but think, man, we got to talk about this, because you think that even MAGA Republicans who are elected officials, that the vast majority of them will eventually find the dignity and self-respect to not go on the most popular news network in America and embarrass themselves in front of the host, Fox viewers, their constituents, and the American people writ large, especially knowing that people like me and others are going to make fun of them relentlessly, right? Surely you would think that after one defeat after another, they would eventually have an epiphany. Well, not Representative Claudia Tenney, a Republican from New York, because she, for whatever reason, volunteered, or perhaps she lost a bet, but she went on the Fox propaganda network, specifically Maria Bartiromo's show, and disgraced herself in numerous clips about the Biden impeachment inquiry. This might be the worst, honestly, of all the public appearances on the Fox propaganda network. This one might be the worst, and you'll see why. It might even be worse than anything we've seen from James Comer. So in this first clip, Claudia Tenney openly advocates for impeaching the president. Let's be very clear. She is not ambiguous about this. She wants Joe Biden impeached.
It is clear as day the Democrats just need to face their own reality and impeach Joe Biden. He is competent to stand trial, I think, and he should be impeached.
He should be impeached. Democrats should impeach Joe Biden along with Republicans. Joe Biden should be impeached. So says Claudia Tenney. And again, this is in the aftermath of yesterday's public hearing. So then you might think, well, okay, you have a very strong affirmative opinion on this. Maria Bartiromo wants to know, okay, well, based on yesterday's rare public hearing, what's the top line in terms of evidence against Joe Biden?
What do you think yesterday really was the main headline in terms of the evidence against Joe Biden? Because the Democrats, even this morning, are saying, oh, no, you know, the impeachment inquiry should be dead at this point. Joe Biden did not do anything. So what specifically do you believe came out of that hearing yesterday that people need to understand about this story?
Well, first of all, Maria, these same Democrats who are denying that there's evidence of impeachment are denying that we have a crime problem and that the southern border or both of our borders, there's a problem. They're like, there's not a problem at the border. They believe everything the president says and Alejandro Mayorkas says. Or let's put it this way. They're repeating what they say. They know in their hearts that this isn't true. But when you put the evidence together, all of these facts, starting with the groundbreaking testimony of the whistleblowers, we wouldn't be here without the whistleblowers. And we also imagine the evidence we could have if only the Department of Justice, under dirty cop Merrick Garland, slow walking, and Leslie Wolf and other characters in the Department of Justice didn't prevent us from getting the evidence we need. Remember, we still don't have all the documents that we need coming from the National Archives, the documents coming from UPenn, the documents coming from...
In other words, they don't have the evidence. When Maria Bartiromo asks you, okay, well, based on yesterday's hearing, what should people know in terms of the evidence you have to impeach the president, given that you have now publicly advocated for the president's impeachment? And then she filibusts, right, with a random irrelevant aside about the border and Secretary Mayorkas of Homeland Security. And then she says, imagine the evidence we could have, that we don't have, but that we could have if we had everything we wanted. That's a tacit admission that you don't have the evidence. So what we have right now is a sitting Republican senator who wants to impeach the president of the United States, knowing that she doesn't have the evidence of an impeachable offense. Super weird and gross, right? In this last clip, again, Tenney makes a complete fool out of herself.
Violating classified documents cases or mishandling and inappropriately federal crimes for mishandling classified documents for decades, as cited by Special Counsel Hur. He has also been engaged in this influence peddling for decades, as we are going to, if we could have all the evidence, we could prove it.
Yeah.
If Donald Trump just did one of these things, he would be prosecuted. If Donald Trump actually put in a sort of puffed up, as they claim he did, a puffed up document to prove that.
Did you clear it? Did you hear that? Did you catch that? She said, if we had the evidence, we could prove it. Folks, they don't have the evidence. Anybody who tells you, and I mean this sincerely, anybody who tells you that Republicans have evidence of an impeachable offense against the president, they're either lying to you or they're really, really stupid. There is no third option. This impeachment inquiry has failed spectacularly. And we're going to show another video in which Republican politicians are openly throwing in the towel. In the past, 16 hours, they have publicly thrown in the towel on impeaching President Biden. Claudia Tenney hasn't gotten the memo yet, again, either because she's really, really, really dishonest, or she's really, really, really stupid. Or perhaps both. It's entirely possible that Claudia Tenney is both a liar and an idiot. It wouldn't surprise me. She's an elected Republican politician. They tend to be those things. So I'm just stunned. If we had the evidence, we could prove it. And also, I want you to impeach the president. Joe Biden should be impeached. As far as evidence goes, if we had the evidence, we could prove it. But impeach him anyway. This is what the Republican Party has become. And by the way, I said this on Twitter. If a president's family uses the president's name to enrich themselves, nepotism is the phrase. If that's an impeachable offense, when you don't have evidence that the president himself facilitated or furthered that goal and used the powers of his office to further that goal, just the very fact that the president's children benefited from their parents' name, then that means if Donald Trump is reelected in 2024, God forbid, then by that metric, Democrats should immediately impeach him the day he's inaugurated, or at least begin a formal impeachment process, because we know Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, Ivanka Trump, Donald Trump's daughter, probably Don Jr. and Eric as well, to one extent or another, have enriched themselves off their father's political influence when he was president. If that's the standard we're going with, Claudia, but again, they don't think about that. They just want to use impeachment as a partisan political tool rather than the most sober tool available to the House of Representatives to hold a rogue president accountable. I'm just stunned by that. If we have the evidence, we could prove it. But impeach him anyway. Let me know what you think in the comments.